Aloha everyone, I am Jessica Lau, your orientation leader for today's session, Rights and Responsibilities. Before we get started, I'll be covering some housekeeping items for today's webinar. First, you should be able to hear me clearly. If you cannot, please note in the chat box so we may troubleshoot with you. Simple fixes include connecting your audio on the Zoom window, turning up your computer volume, or using external headphones. Second, please utilize the Q&A function if you have questions for the presenters or about what was shared. For most sessions, all questions will be saved at the end of the presentation. Additionally, participants in the chat are asked to be respectful of others and stay focused on the topic of this webinar, so those with questions can be easily seen. Finally, after the session, we'll be uploading the recording of this webinar to the Visit Days platform in the videos section. All recordings will have closed captioning. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce today's presenters, Leslie Mitchell, Pualani Pereira, Paul Bresnahan, Sarah Rice, Chris Yanuara, and Jamie Nwalu. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to Leslie Mitchell.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock in Hawaii, so good afternoon. My name is Leslie Mitchell. I'm the interim director of the Office of Student Conduct, and my colleague is here. Pualani, do you want to?
Hey everybody.
Great. So Pualani and I work in the Office of Student Conduct. We're going to do a quick review about what our office can assist students with. So we're going to review two main procedures, the academic grievance procedures and the student conduct code. And let's start with the academic grievance procedure. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Pualani.
Thanks, Leslie. Hi, everybody. I hope that you are all having a wonderful day today. As mentioned, I'm just going to be going through our academic grievance procedures with you all. And these procedures are in place to provide students essentially with a formal avenue to grieve any final course grades if you're unsatisfied with what you receive. So some of the common complaints that we typically see would be grievances based on unfair or incorrect grading, or also substantial deviations from the course syllabus that adversely affected your overall course grade. So for example, if your syllabus states that anywhere between 90 to 100 points would give you an A, and you get your grade at the end of the semester, you got exactly 90 points, but your grade's showing a B, that would be something that could be potential grounds for a grievance. And now as for the actual procedures, there's 3 main steps that you'll need to follow. So the first, very informal, just reaching out to your instructor and trying to find a resolution with them. And you actually have a lot of time for this. It just needs to be initiated no later than the last day of the semester, following the one in which you took the course. So if you take a course in the fall, you have until the last day of the next spring semester to start step 1. Now, let's say you reach out to your instructor and you're not able to find a resolution with them. From there, you can move to step 2, which is working with your department chair by filing a formal complaint with your department chair. And what they'll do is they will review that, they'll meet with you, they'll also talk with your instructor, and then they'll issue a formal response to your complaint. And this needs to be done within 10 days from the outcome of your step 1. So let's say you go through all of that, you send your formal complaint, you meet with the department chair, and you still don't find a resolution that works for you. Then you can move to step 3, which is a formal appeal handled with our office. And this also needs to be done within 10 business days from the outcome of your step 2. So super easy, 10, 10 for steps 2 and 3. And with the formal appeal, what you'll do is you'll submit a formal grievance to us, very similar to your step 2. And what we do is we actually facilitate that to our academic grievance committee, and they will review it. They'll look at all of your submissions, any documentation, any information, and then they'll determine if there's cause for a grade change. And once you submit this appeal, it will be reviewed, and then we do typically send any communications from our office to you. So I know this can sound super daunting. So there's just a couple of things that we want you to keep in mind if you are considering this process. First and foremost, the deadlines are super important. So the first one you always want to remember is that step 1, you have until the end of the following semester to start your grievance process. So you have lots of time to build up your case and collect any information, but you'll just want to keep that in the back of your mind. Second, the burden of proof rests on the student. So what this means is that the onus is on you to provide any information and any documentation necessary to support your grievance. So we unfortunately cannot request that information from you. Third, if you do end up getting to step 3 of the grievance process, we do have online completion forms. So if you are considering submitting a formal appeal with us, please make sure you reach out to us so we can get that information to you and you can submit your grievance properly. Fourth, a big one in grievances is the actual remedy. This process is primarily for grade-related remedies. So remedy could include a change of a grade, reevaluation of an assignment, etc. But this also means that certain requests, such as course refunds, those are things that cannot be granted through this process. And then lastly, because this is our formal procedure for grieving grade, all findings and decisions made within step 3 by the committee are final within the university. So if you go through the entire process and you're still not happy with the outcome, unfortunately, there's no appeal past this process. It is, again, a very daunting process. So if you have any questions or concerns, we do a lot of consultations with students. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us to get any more information. And on that note, I'm just going to pass things right back to Leslie, and she's going to go through our student conduct code with you all.
Thanks, Pualani. So the second procedure that we facilitate on campus is called the Student Conduct Code. And that's where we're ensuring the safety of all students, faculty, staff, and others within our campus community. So this procedure helps students understand, one, why the behavior is inconsistent with our university expectations, to learn from that situation, and then also recognize how their behavior affects others on campus. So it's the Student Conduct Code, we kind of call it the common sense code. Hopefully the behaviors that we're discussing in that code are things that would be common sense to students on campus. Things like you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't hit others, you shouldn't spray paint the side of a building, things like that. In general, if it is illegal off campus, it is illegal on campus or against our conduct code. So the conduct code governs behaviors of students and holds them accountable for those violations. This is an administrative internal proceeding of the university. And I say that because this is not a court of law. This is not a legal or adversarial process. It is a university policy. And so this procedure upholds that policy. So common violations of our conduct code, there's 2 kinds of sets. On the left side of the screen are our academic dishonesty types. So things like cheating and facilitating of cheating, improper materials, plagiarism, and fabrication. If you have questions about those, I encourage you to look at the academic integrity session that I did about 2 weeks ago. There's a recording on the NSO platform. So I go through all of those common violations. So I encourage you to look into those. Now on the right side of the screen is what we term as behavioral misconduct. So these are things like alcohol and drug violations, threats or intimidation, disorderly conduct, stealing. Another common violation is related to our parking permits. So altering or creating your own parking permit, for example, would both be in violation of our policy. You're only supposed to, again, use the parking passes that you receive from commuter services. So that can be a common violation as well. Now, the procedures for our office is that our office receives reports daily from faculty, staff, students, other departments, depending on the situation. And we have to intake all of those reports and review them for applicability under our conduct code. And so if it's determined that they are applicable under our conduct code, myself, a conduct administrator, then informs a student of those alleged violations by email. So we have a secure system that will send you a notice through. And in that notice, it will say what the allegations are and more information about the incident. It informs you that you need to schedule a meeting with our office and gives you a timeline in order to schedule that meeting. Now, if you fail to schedule a meeting, then holds may be placed on your account because that is a meeting as per our procedure. Then the student meets with me and any relevant witnesses are also discussed and spoken with to gather additional information. Then a determination is made if it's more likely than not that a violation either occurred or didn't occur related to that incident. Now, if it's found that a violation did occur and the student was responsible for that violation, then sanctions are assessed. So sanctions come in two forms. There's status sanctions and educational sanctions. Status sanctions are things like disciplinary probation, suspension, expulsion, withholding of degree, or things like that. So basically a status of how you can interact on campus. Educational sanctions include things like workshops, tutorials. You might be asked to watch a TED Talk and provide a reflection on that. So both of these sanctions can be anticipated if a student is found responsible for violating a policy. All of these sanctions and the procedure that go with it do form what's called your permanent disciplinary record, which is a part of your educational record here at the university. So it's important to know that these things, they can remain with you at minimum for 7 years. So we ask that students really think carefully about the behavior and engaging with the student conduct code to making sure they're adhering to these community standards. Now, our office is in the Queen Liliuokalani Center for Student Services in Suite 207. So we're on the second floor, all the way in the back corner by the conference room, which is 208. Our email is osc@hawaii.edu. So it stands for Office of Student Conduct, OSC. Now, we do prefer that you either email us or use our website to do star ballots. You can call us, but sometimes if we're in meetings, we're not able to pick up the phone. So our preferred contact is by email or our website. And again, as Pualani stated, if you have any questions, you need assistance on either our procedures or understanding them more, please reach out, because we'd love to be able to help and answer any questions you have to make sure that you're successful moving forward in the school year. So thank you so much. And I'll turn it over to Paul with Title IX.
Thank you, Leslie. Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Bresnahan with the Office of Title IX. Today, we're going to provide you with an overview of related federal and state laws and regulations, help develop your understanding of our university policies on sexual harassment in Title IX, and then discuss resources and services available to you both on and off campus. Our office is located in Hawaii Hall 112, which is right next to the Queen Liliuokalani Center, where Leslie just talked about the Office of Student Conduct. Our phone number is 956-2299, and we are best reached by email at t9uhm@hawaii.edu. Dia Wono is our director and Title IX coordinator. Myself and Jennifer Matayoshi are case managers, and Jessica Kanashiro is our operations coordinator. Along with our office, we also have several deputy Title IX coordinators who are focused on many different areas on campus to assist with cases. We have Amanda Patterson, who works with athletics, Karen Blakely for student housing, Julie Mayetta for graduate division. If we have any students at the medical school, we have Coco Seymour. For the law school, Ronnie Kawakami, and then employee cases, Tammy Kuniyoshi does assist. Our office oversees all complaints of sex discrimination and or gender-based violence for students, faculty, and staff. We address these complaints through supportive measures, which are things we put in place on a temporary basis to help students continue their education without fear of continued harassment or discrimination. We have an informal resolution process and a formal investigation process. Our office is neutral, which means we make sure that the policies and procedures set forth are followed, but we do not advocate for either party. And our office provides Title IX trainings. On your screen, you will see Patsy Mink, the co-author of Title IX and former UH Mānoa student. Title IX in part reads, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. This applies to the University of Hawaii because many of our students do receive forms of financial aid, and our researchers receive grants and things, so we do need to comply with federal laws such as Title IX. Our university policy covers specific prohibited conduct, such as sex discrimination, sexual harassment, gender-based harassment, sexual exploitation, sexual assault, domestic and dating violence, stalking, and retaliation. Our policy also provides definitions for consent and incapacitation. Next, I'll play a short video on consent.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they go, oh my God, I would love a cup of tea. Thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no, thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes, please, that's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
So this is a great little video we like to show that helps demonstrate the importance of consent, and that is an affirmative yes to whatever sexual activity might be taking place. Act 208 at the Hawaii state level indicates that all University of Hawaii faculty members are designated as responsible employees, which means any information shared with them regarding a Title IX type complaint, they are required to report that to our office. Complainants have three options for dealing with their reports. They can file a complaint using our institutional grievance policy, EP 1204, which should be the process that our office oversees. They can file a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights, which is at the federal level, or they can file a lawsuit or complaint with Honolulu Police Department at the state level. Complainants have the option to use all three of these complaints, one of these complaints, two, or none of these complaints at all. Some later presentations will discuss some of our campus resources, but this slide highlights them. We have our Manoa Confidential Advocate, Jamie Navalu, pictured above, our Confidential Advocacy Program, Leslie Kabingabang, pictured below. Also, the Counseling and Student Development Center is a great confidential resource for students. Department of Public Safety, while not a confidential resource, is a great resource for students to file complaints or discuss if there are immediate safety needs. And then Respondent Support, Christiana Waria, who will also be presenting for you later, is also a great resource. Two great community resources, the Sex Abuse Treatment Center and the Domestic Violence Action Center, both offer 24-hour hotlines to students if they need support at any time of the day. Thank you. We'll take questions at the end of the presentation. I'll turn it over to Sarah Rice with the Department of Public Safety. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to bring up my presentation here just a moment. My name is Sarah Rice. I am here from UH Mānoa Department of Public Safety, and I'm going to start with a short video here.
UH Mānoa's Department of Public
Sorry.
UH Mānoa's Department of Public Safety is dedicated to providing and promoting a safe and secure campus and serving our community with aloha. UH Mānoa is a safe community for faculty, staff, and students. In 2017, 2 national safety organizations named UH Mānoa one of the top 100 safest campuses in the country. Of course, as members of the UH Mānoa community, safety.
Sorry, can you guys see my video? Okay. I'm gonna try it again, I suppose, and if not, then not.
UH Mānoa's Department of Public Safety is dedicated to providing and promoting a safe and secure campus and serving our community with aloha. UH Mānoa is a safe community for faculty, staff, and students. In 2017, 2 national safety organizations named UH Mānoa one of the top 100 safest campuses in the country. Of course, as members of the UH Mānoa community, safety is a shared responsibility. Dialing 808-956-6911 from any phone puts you in direct contact with UH Mānoa Department of Public Safety Dispatch. Emergency call boxes are also located throughout campus and can be identified by their blue lights. To use an emergency call box, lift up the receiver or push the button on the phone. Even if you are unable to verbally communicate over the phone, DPS Dispatch can pinpoint the location of your call and send help immediately. Download the free UH Mānoa Guardian app to connect immediately with UH Mānoa Department of Public Safety in the event of an emergency. Here are a few tips DPS offers in the spirit of safety, security, and aloha. Be aware of your surroundings and walk in pairs or groups whenever possible. DPS provides free evening transportation if you have to walk alone on campus. Call our safety escort service from any location on campus 7 days a week from dusk until dawn. Be vigilant with your personal property. Always lock your doors and windows whenever you leave home, even if only for a few minutes. When you are entering and exiting student housing areas, do not prop the door open or let others into the building without their key card. Lock your bikes, mopeds, and vehicles every time you leave them. Make sure that bikes and mopeds are secured with at least one heavy lock and attached to a bike rack or other immovable object. Always park in legal parking areas. Never leave phones, laptops, or other valuables unattended, even if you are only stepping away for a few moments. Always pack these items and take them with you. If you are a student housing resident and you lose your key card, be sure to report it immediately so the old key card is deactivated. For your safety, never write your address or building name on your key card. In the event of a campus emergency, the university has a number of ways to communicate information quickly to the campus community, including text messaging, email, the UH Mānoa website, and social media. Be sure to sign up for alerts at hawaii.edu/alert. DPS provides crime prevention seminars and first aid, CPR, and AED training. The Counseling and Student Development Center provides confidential mental health services to students. University Health Services Mānoa provides a variety of medical services. Whether you are a student, faculty, staff, or visitor, the University of Hawaii at Mānoa is a fantastic place to call your own. Let's all do our part to make our campus a safer place.
All right. So UH Mānoa Department of Public Safety is available on campus 24/7. We have regular patrols on campus, bike, cart, vehicle, foot patrols on campus. We respond to incidents, like I said, day or night. Whether you're in student housing or you're in an academic building, give us a call. And I have our phone number here coming up in a minute. We also have crime prevention presentations that we offer, and I will put a couple of links in the chat near the end of this session today for anybody to download. We are located on Upper Campus, kind of near Miley Way and East West Road. If you've ever been by the Center for Korean Studies, it's a really beautiful building. Right on the edge of East West Road and Miley Way, and we are the ugly building right past it, just up East West Road. So you can't miss it. We have our patrol vehicles there in the parking lot. We have a campus safety escort service. It's available from dusk until dawn. It was 7 days a week. Right now, we're doing walking only escorts. People, prefer the driving escorts, but right now we've got COVID-19 restrictions and a little bit and some short staffing. So we're not going to be doing our full escort, but we can do some walking escorts here and there if needed. So you call us to report a crime in progress, report suspicious activity, or just request assistance for something. Our number is 808-956-6911. Program that into your phone. You don't want to be Googling it when you need to call us. I will have contact info at the end of this, of these slides that you can take a screenshot of, but I'll also put the info in the chat near the end of our rights and responsibilities session today. We offer crime prevention and awareness presentations. We have safety and wellness, which is just a general safety presentation. We talk about theft prevention. We even talk about just general safety tips for being in Hawaii, beach safety, hiking safety, stuff like that. We have active shooter awareness and response training. And that's the Run, Hide, Fight. It's excellent training. We highly recommend attending that. We have conflict resolution and de-escalation training. And we have a first aid CPR AED certification. Right now, we have that on hold because it requires a in-person skills test where you are actually putting your face on a mannequin. And of course, we can't be doing that right now. But in the future, when we start to offer it again, highly recommended. We also offer hurricane preparedness training. The awesome thing is that all of these are on Zoom and you can sign up on our website. It's super easy. We offer them on a regular basis. So I will again put links in the chat near the end of our session today. We have our Manoa Guardian Campus Safety app. It's a free download. One thing we really like about this is it has a virtual security escort component. So you download the app. Let's say it takes 10 minutes to get from the library to your car or to your residence hall. Just set the timer for 10 minutes, start walking. When you get there, you deactivate the timer and you go on your way. If for whatever reason you don't deactivate the timer and it expires before you deactivate it, then we'll send an officer to your location to double check and make sure that you're okay. So really great tool. The great thing about it is you don't have to wait for a safety escort. You can just download the app and go. You can also direct text message to DPS. We have some emergency plans and important UH phone numbers. So highly recommend that you download the app. You just go into your app store and search for Rave Guardian. And it's a free app. Put in your UH email and it will configure automatically to UH Mānoa settings. Super helpful, highly recommend it. Just a reminder, if a student is a victim or a suspect of a crime, you're all adults now for the most part. We may have one or two minors in the group, but but most of you are 18 and over. We cannot share information without a student's permission. In some cases, we might have to share information with the university or as required by law, but parents, if you want to check, let's say you haven't been getting phone calls and text messages back, you can request a wellness check. Especially if it's a resident of student housing, we can go knock on their residence hall door and say, hey, call your mom, or we can try to find their class and tell them that. So students, return text messages and calls, please, so you don't get embarrassed in your class or at your residence hall room with someone going to check on them and saying, call mom. So don't forget that. Important contact information here. I'll be putting this info in the chat near the end of our session. Don't forget to download our campus safety app. Our main phone number is that 956-6911. Put that in your phone and sign up for UH Alert text message emergency notifications. It's hawaii.edu/alert. And I will be putting all of those in the chat here in about 20 minutes or so. So thanks, guys. And I will turn it over to the next person. Chris.
Yes. Okay. All right. Aloha, everyone. My name is Christopher Yano Arya. I'm the program coordinator for Prevention, Awareness, Understanding Violence. Welcome. And just with all of the programs that you've been hearing today, we really hope what really comes through is that we really care about you here at UH Mānoa. And whatever comes up, we hope that needs that you have, we hope that there's a program for you, just like the saying, there's an app for that. We hope to say that there's a program for that here at the university. So with our program, we are located at the Queen Liliuokalani Center for Students at 211. So we do have our lounges open this semester. And so I'll be sharing you more about that, and you can come and check us out, visit us at our office. So this is our mission statement. The Prevention, Awareness, Understanding Violence program exists to inspire, educate, and empower students in campus communities to build safe, living, learning environments and end interpersonal violence and encourage holistic well-being. So basically, here at PAU Violence, we our hope is to create just a safer and healthier UH Mānoa campus environment where all of us can thrive. And so I'll be sharing about some of the services that we provide to be able to do that. We provide prevention education trainings and workshops. And we have also different awareness events, both in which I'll be talking to you more about. Also, we have volunteer opportunities. So we take on interns from the School of Social Work and other places. So if you're interested, please go ahead and email my email at the end of this presentation. I'll provide all of that contact information to you. And so one of the services we provide is prevention education training. So we provide domestic/dating violence prevention, sex assault prevention, stalking prevention. We also have a bystander intervention workshop, and we also talk about healthy relationships. Since COVID, all of our presentations have been on virtual. So these are some of the screenshots of some of the presentations that we've done. Pre-COVID, we used to meet up a lot and do a lot of engagement with our students. So these are some of the past events that we've done prior to COVID. Throughout the month, we have different focus. So with the month of October, we have Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And the month of April, we have Sex Assault Awareness Month. So these are some of the virtual events that we've done. So we had a candlelight visual this past year in October. We also had in April, it was part of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we put on an event called Voices of Men, Our Role in Preventing Sexual Violence. And then Awa Mo Kuleana is a collaborative effort with all of different universities and community organizations coming together to provide just information and workshops. It was a couple-day event to our campus community. And just want to let you know again that our lounge is open. And so the only difference is that we have to, we're taking reservations. And so we'll have a reservation system set up, and we just have precautions as well. All of those who enter the office space has to be fully covered, face covering, nose and mouth are required for entry. And of course, we'll check in with their UH Loomis site. And but if you have any other questions or want more information about PAU violence and the services that we provide, you can feel free to email us. We'll take questions at the end, but you can email us at uhmpau@hawaii.edu for a general email. If you like to request any trainings, you can go ahead and email me at cy9@hawaii.edu. And we also have Facebook and Instagram. So go ahead and please follow us to keep up with all of the different events we have going on. And then right now, due to everything that's going on, the meetings that we have are by appointment only. So it will be via telephone or Zoom. I think that's it. And I think next is Jamie.
All right, mahalo, Chris. Aloha no kako. My name is Jamie Navalu, and I'll be talking to you today about the services we have here in the advocacy office. I'm also known as the Mānoa Advocate. Right now, just to give you guys a heads up, we're currently going through a reorg. Therefore, we're going through a name change with our office. So our current name that we're changing to is going to be Mānoa Cares Office, but we were previously known as the Office of Gender Equity. I know that you guys were just given a whole bunch of information, so I'll try to make this as brief and easy to understand as possible. And I believe I'm also the last one, so thank you for bearing with us this afternoon. Okay, let's see. So first and foremost, I wanted to just say welcome to UH Mānoa. Welcome to all the students, whether you're a transfer, your first year students, you're a returning learner. I personally, I'm really excited for your journey to begin because I myself was once in your shoes. I was your stereotypical college student. Straight out of high school, I came to UH Mānoa. As you can see, I put the Hale Aloha dorms because, I stayed there. That was my first year there. Got to go to some fun athletic events, just like any other college student. Even got to go study abroad in Italy, which was pretty awesome. And then I did finally graduate with my degree from UH Mānoa. I had such an awesome time here. And I think that what we can at least say is that in order to have the quality education and the experiences and memories, our campus is really committed to safety. And I think that's pretty made abundantly clear from everyone else who presented before me. So UH Mānoa is definitely committed to making your learning environment as safe and free as possible from sex or gender-based discrimination, harassment, and violence. So let's just say if you just so happen to have experienced or you think you may have experienced any of the following: sex or gender-based discrimination, harassment, sex assault, domestic or dating violence, stalking, or for retaliation from reporting one of these events, I just want to let you know that you are not alone. So what I'm about to go over with you might seem a little bit like review from what Paul had presented in his Title IX presentation. But in order to understand my role, you have to kind of understand Title IX as well. So as Paul mentioned, most of the employees on campus are responsible employees. What that means is that they're mandated reporters. So if any of the misconducts happened from the previous slide, is reported to, let's say, one of your instructors, faculty, or mentor on campus, they are mandated reporters to the Title IX office. First and foremost, I want to let you know that it's not meant to be punitive in any way. Again, the campus is just making sure that they're doing what they can to make this as safe environment for you as possible. But let's just say something, you think you might have experienced one of the events I listed before, and you wanted to talk to somebody without necessarily triggering a Title IX notice just yet. I am the designated confidential advocate. So I'm not a responsible employee per se, meaning that I can't hold your confidentiality. I do want to note that there are some limits to my confidentiality, which basically if who you are alleging the actions against is an employee of the campus, I might not be able to guarantee confidentiality. I can guarantee privacy in those cases, as well as if you report abuse or neglect of a minor or a vulnerable adult. In those situations, I might have to step outside of the confidentiality just to make sure everyone is safe. Aside from myself, there are a few other confidential resources that the campus has to offer. One are the clinical staff at the Counseling and Student Development Center, the licensed practitioners at the Health Services, our UH confidential advocate, Leslie Kabingabang, and Teresa Ville from Student Parents at Mānoa. So what do I do exactly? First off, I do serve victims, whether they're students or employees of the UH Mānoa campus. Basically, when you come in, some of the services I can offer are risk assessment, safety planning, crisis support and counseling, advocacy. I can review reporting options on campus. So this could include various grievance procedures, including Title IX. And of course, referrals to both on and off campus resources. So I listed here like medical options, legal options, restraining orders, and counseling resources. As you can see in this little grid I created here, this is by no means every resource there is on campus and off campus, but these are some of the more frequently used resources for students who may be coming to my office. So on campus, it ranges from, of course, Title IX office, but as listed, like, Department of Public Safety, Sarah, she just talked, as well as Student Conduct Office. We have the Women's Center, University Health Services, Academic Advisors, Financial Aid Office, talking to your instructors, faculty, professors. And then, of course, off campus, well, two of our most commonly used resources in the community would be Sex Abuse Treatment Center, as well as Domestic Violence Action Center. We can definitely talk more about restraining orders and other resources, such as going to the police, working with Legal Aid Society, the prosecutor's office, or maybe if you're not comfortable with seeking help on campus, we can also look into community resources for counseling, substance abuse treatment, and access to things like Hawaii Cares Crisis Line. Again, it's all going to be tailored to kind of what your needs are in particular. So every student's case is going to look a little different, and I'm here to help you figure out what would be right for you. I do want to give a trigger warning because I'm just going to go over like a couple of examples of things we might see and how I might walk through it, just so you can get an idea of what it would be like to meet with me. So if you are triggered, please feel free to step away, take care of yourself as needed. It's completely understandable. Anyways, in this example, John Doe is a graduate student at UH Mānoa. He lives off campus with his significant other who is working professional in the community. John Doe's grades have been suffering for the past semester, and it turns out John has been contemplating leaving his relationship. The tipping point was an incident that happened a week ago when John says his partner had punched him in the face and shoved him against a car during an argument at the grocery store. John is not sure if he is ready to leave the relationship, especially since his partner pays for rent and his tuition. However, John fears that if he does not get out soon, things will escalate even further. John doesn't know what to do, and he hasn't told anyone yet. So this might be an example of a case that comes through my office. First and foremost, I'm here for you. I'm here for the students. I'm here to listen. I'm here to hear your story. So, part of listening is, like I mentioned before, everyone's situation is different. So when it comes to my risk and safety assessment, as well as safety planning, it's going to be very detailed and tailored to your specific situation. So just to say for this example, I listened to John's situation. If this was a DV relationship or domestic violence or dating violence relationship, where there's a cycle of power and control, there's going to be a lot of details in our safety planning that I will talk with John. We also know that with domestic violence or dating violence, when a individual or victim is trying to leave the relationship, it can potentially be dangerous at that time. So we'll plan for those things. So when I say safety planning, it's not just the physical, but it could also be the emotional, financial, educational, electronic, what to do in crisis or emergencies. And of course, identifying triggers and escalation points. When you come in, you are the expert of you. I'm here to help you figure out how to keep yourself safe, whether it's in your home, in the community environment, whether it's here on campus. You know how to keep yourself safe best. So what I mean by that is sometimes I just talk it out with you to kind of see what are some of the escalation points, meaning what happens when your partner escalates, and what are some of the de-escalation techniques you tend to use to help de-escalate those situations. My main goal would also be to help you start to find supports or natural supports in the community, whether that's your family, friends, classmates, to kind of draw upon them on times that you need them. And then of course, adding to your toolbox for coping. So, anyone who's going through these events could definitely use skills in taking care of themselves while they're trying to do their education. And that could be as simple as, like, what do you do to relieve stress, right? But sometimes when we're caught up in it, it's really hard to think. Resources, we will definitely get into that. So off-campus resources, perhaps John would be a good candidate for someone who might want to talk to someone from DVAC, the Domestic Violence Action Center. Maybe he's interested in learning about TROs, right? Restraining orders, or other living options and counseling services in the community. On campus, perhaps we can talk about if he wants to leave and he's worried about tuition, what would he need to do with financial aid to get some student loans? Maybe he needs to talk to his professor or academic advisor. Maybe I can provide him a letter of support that he can give his professor or academic advisor, saying like, hey, I want to ask for some accommodations if possible. And then of course, if eligible, maybe the counseling center or LGBTQ+ program, if it is applicable to his situation. Okay, so one more quick scenario, of course, is this scenario. Jane Doe is an undergraduate student at UH Mānoa, and she is staying in the Halealoha dormitory on campus. Jane recently met another student she is interested in at Campus Center. After a few dates, he invited Jane to a party at his dorm room where alcohol was involved. The next day, Jane wakes up in his dorm room and recalls portions of the night before. Jane did not give consent and she believes she was sexually assaulted. Jane feels scared and alone and does not know what to do. So again, as you can see, that my process of the intake and listening, one thing I want to point out here is this situation might be different. And this is the reason I'm pointing something out here is that if you recall from Paul's Title IX presentation, right, there's certain criteria that needs to be met for the campus to have control of the jurisdiction to file it under Title IX. And I'm there to help whoever comes to my office to figure out if those options are applicable to them. So in this situation, definitely doing our typical intake, trying to see what happened, our risk and safety assessment, and all the same points still follow, just like in the previous example. Of course, a big difference on this one is, like, for example, off campus, maybe I can help discuss her medical options if she wanted to, if she has not already done so, go for a medical forensic exam at SATC, Sex Abuse Treatment Center. At that exam, if she hasn't already called police to report, if she wanted to, she could possibly call police to file a report. The medical forensic exam will also preserve her evidence if Jane decides she wants to go forward with charges. And even if she decides she doesn't want to, the SATC will actually preserve her evidence in case she does want to in the future. Perhaps she does want a restraining order out in the community, and maybe counseling services. Likewise, on campus, we'll probably talk about her options with Title IX, whether she wants to report formally, go through a formal investigation versus an informal investigation, whether or not she wants supportive measures or no contact orders. It's really going to be up to her. And then, of course, I also add on here Department of Public Safety in case, she wants to report to them as well. We do have some standards, especially when it comes around violence, that we do have to, per Clery Act, report to the Department of Public Safety. Talking with professors or academic advisors, maybe student housing, and then, of course, Women's Center and Counseling Center. Our most important thing here is that we want to emphasize safety above all else, and just to make sure that we are doing everything we can to keep the environment as safe as possible. So it's going to vary from person to person depending on what's happening. So mainly I'm here to give you options. I am a social worker by trade. I'm not here to give legal advice. I'm not here to do unlawful practice of law. I really just want to make sure that anyone who comes to my office knows that they can get support, ask questions, find out their options, and make the choices that are best for them. My goal is to empower those who come to my office to just feel like they can take control of the situation and hopefully, right, like I said, make choices that is best for them in that moment. So with that being said, this is my contact information. Again, my name is Jamie Navalu. I can be found at the Queen Lily Okalani Center for Student Services, room 210. You can see my phone number over here, as well as I can be reached at either email, manoaadv or jnavalu@hawaii.edu. I do have a blog site where we do list some of the resources I talked about in more detail. So if you want to take that down, that's fine. I do recommend that you call or email ahead of time for an appointment just to assure that I'm available, because right now it's just me. But otherwise, I am still open to walk-ins. I am coming in person Monday through Friday. So I do have walk-in hours between 8:30 to 4. Again, though, if you can make an appointment ahead of time, that would probably be best. Whew. All right, you guys. So I think that's it for me. Thank you for listening. I'm going to send this back to our host.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we do have a few questions, both in the Q&A and then also from the chat. But first and foremost, I want to say that everyone who participated today will be tabling at Valina Mānoa, the first day of school kickoff. So you can come in and meet folks in person from a safe distance. And I also want to say that everyone pretty much today is probably the nicest people on campus. They don't have the easiest job, not the most fun or great topics, but they definitely care about students and making sure, of course, that they're safe, and their experience with us are grand old time. I couldn't find an appropriate adjective. Okay, so to start it off, it's actually for Sarah, and I see you typing, sorry. Are students able to join the campus police?
So I just put a bunch of links in the chat as promised. I guess it depends on if they meet the minimum qualifications to be a security officer. I'm going to put a link in because we also have student positions available. And if you're taking classes during the day, for example, and you can't, because they're full-time. We don't do part-time security officers, they're full-time. So it might not work with your school schedule, but we do take student employees, and I'll put the link in the chat that has both positions. And basically, the student employee positions are usually in the evenings, and they do safety escorts and they do locking of buildings in the evenings. So super easy, but they still, if they, they observe and report a little bit as well. For our full-time officers, if you think you'd have the time for it, then absolutely, if you meet the minimum qualifications, but if not, I'll throw the student employment link in the chat here in just a second. I just need to find it.
Mm-hmm. And then as you're doing that, so Sarah just put in the chat, of course, DPS's telephone number. So that's 808-956-6911. So hopefully by the end of today, you can remember that telephone number. She also included safety tips and downloadable brochures. And also she listed the safety workshops and training sessions. Highly suggest students sign up for the UH alert. So a UH email is required. So unfortunately, parents aren't able to utilize that resource, but there are other ways for parents and student supporters to get up-to-date information. And of course, the Manoa Guardian Campus Safety app. So if folks want to refer to that later, these are really helpful resources, especially on campus. And of course, the DPS employment, we will provide these links later as well. And of course, the social media, I believe all the offices do have social media or some form of it. So for DPS, it's UH Mānoa Safety. So go ahead and check that out. So connected, sorry to Sarah, for safety statistics, because I know Jamie actually brought it up about Cleary. Can families and students find the safety report online?
Yes, they can. I can link that too.
Okay.
So our annual security report, we publish it on October 1st of every year. Last year, we got a little bit of a delay because of COVID. I'll put a direct link in the chat. Our next one for the 2020 crime statistics is going to be it'll be the 2021 annual security report with 2020 information. And that will be available by October 1st. But I'll put the annual security report link in the chat.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So another question, the Q&A. So for PAU Violence, I see you, Chris, already starting to type the answer. Will there be any in-person events in the fall?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. We hope so. It all depends because our first priority is the health and safety of our campus community, and so it depends. Keep us in the, or we'll hope to keep you in the loop. You can definitely follow us at our Instagram handle or Facebook. We'll be updating you folks about all the different events that's going on, and I'm optimistic. So I hope that things will be opening up and that we can do these types of things in person. So.
Nice. Thank you. And then actually I'm going to jump to Paul. So for Title IX, if a student needs to talk to someone, can they do that without filing a report?
Sure. So in terms, we could probably direct students to talk with Jamie or Leslie first as a confidential advocate if they want to consult and get advice prior to meeting with our office. But students can totally meet with us. That would provide us information regarding their complaint, but it is their choice on how they'd like to proceed or act upon the information they share. If a student doesn't want any forms of supportive measures or doesn't want to initiate a formal investigation, we will not force a student to participate in either process.
Perfect. That's actually a good segue to Jamie. A question came in about what does it mean to be an advocate? And I guess both Chris and Jamie can answer this question, but what do you folks advocate for?
Good question. And that I can probably spend 2 hours on that, which I won't. So my role here as an advocate for the victim, right? My priority is advocating on the behalf of victims. So like I said, it's going to be really up to the victim who comes into my office, in this case, whether it be student or faculty. So my job is really, in a way, to simplify it. I'm here to support you in the ways I can. I can definitely advise on options and then from there help you advocate for what you think you need. There might be situations where there's a little bit of bind, right? Because I do have limits of confidentiality. And in those cases, you and I would be able to probably discuss how to go about that and do what's comfortable for you. So kind of being cautious. And of course, when you come in, I kind of remind everyone about those points so that you don't have to remember it all right now. So I really advocate on behalf of the student as much as possible, or I should say the victim in this case. Doesn't have to be a student.
Nice.
And for me, I work with students who are respondents in Title IX cases, and so I help to. When we talk about advocate, I'm more so like a procedure and rights advocate, having the student understand what their rights are and having them fully understand what the procedures are in the case of Title IX. And so going through the policies and procedures, answering any questions they might have regarding that and the process. And so I really want to help students to just fully know what their what the process is and what their rights are.
Nice. That's a good segue actually to Pualani regarding academic grievance. So realistically, how long does that process take from start to finish?
It can be a bit of a lengthy process, largely because you do need to make sure that you're going through each step and you're submitting all your information. So really, it kind of depends on when you start. If you do start towards the end of the semester, it generally will actually go into the next semester, which can take a few weeks. So I do want to be very upfront that it can take time to go through that process. So be sure that you are prepared to be in communications and be on top of this as it goes on.
Nice, nice. And I think in my experience, a lot of students, if they would just talk to their faculty, a lot of issues are just resolved from there versus having to go through this formal, informal, awkward process of trying to resolve an issue.
Yes.
Dr. Mitchell, what is an educational record?
Thanks for asking, because we get this a lot and this applies to some of us more than others. So educational records at the university are pretty much everything that you do will create a record, except for, of course, meeting with Jamie. That's not going to create a record, but things like, you do a late drop or you pay your tuition bill, any of those different things create what's called an educational record. And so our office, everything that I shouldn't say everything, but almost everything that we have in our office is an educational record. So whether it's academic grievance or the student conduct code, but it's important to know that our educational records are protected and managed under a federal law called FERPA, which stands for the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And that dictates how universities manage and share that information. So this is new to a lot of our incoming first-year students who are turning 18 coming to college, to know that many times we're not able to share information with other people, third parties, parents or guardians or things like that. And so if you do have a concern with a campus office, traditionally you're going to be the one who needs to ask those questions, bring up that information and resolve that, because some of our offices, like my own, are restricted in a way in how we can share information specifically about in our case, a case or an incident, or for example, at the registrar sharing grades or things like that. They wouldn't be able to do that with their parent or guardian. So just a little primer on FERPA and educational files, but our records are considered disciplinary records as well. So they fit under that educational record umbrella, and disciplinary records stay on in the system for a minimum of 7 years, and they are accessible through either the student or the student giving us permission to release to a third party.
Thank you for the primer. So with all that, if a student goes through the student conduct code process, are they able to have a lawyer? So does FERPA also apply to lawyers, or is it only parents?
Good question. So our process is not a legal one. And so lawyers are not involved in the process. You may have an advisor. So if you want to have your parent as an advisor, or even, I don't know, a brother or sister or something like that, yes, you can have them as your advisor. The only thing I would say is we will talk about the incident in full during the meeting. And so you want to think carefully if you want your parent to be in the room with you, or maybe another advisor is better, maybe a mentor or another family member or something like that. But yes, you may have an advisor. They just cannot be a lawyer.
Okay, so that's actually all the questions that came in. So again, I want to thank everyone for attending, and I will go ahead and pass it to our orientation leader, Jessica, to go ahead and close this out.
All right, yeah, thank you so much for joining us today for this presentation. We hope that you gained some helpful information from Leslie Mitchell, Pualani Pereira, Paul Bresnahan, Sarah Rice, Chris Yanuaria, and Jamie Navalu. If you have any further questions or questions that were not discussed, please email your orientation leader or nrwo@hawaii.edu for assistance. As mentioned, this webinar will be published on the NSO platform, so please visit that page for the recording as well as links or documents mentioned by today's guests. Okay, mahalo.